to you here, Chris. We'll get you right here. And then let me get a mic.
You got a stat sheet, Jeff? I didn't bring mine. No, you get. Thank you. Thank you.
The first question here, Chris Paul from West Memphis. Go ahead, Chris.
Kelvin, to get Jacob into that game and
Yeah.
have that moment, what does that mean?
It meant a lot to me for his mother and father, and Jacob goes without saying. But his first injury, then the aftermath. I remember Kellen and KC and I. Obviously, practice ended as soon as it happened, and we went to the. Once we got organized with the team, we went up to the hospital. And then he was in the not emergency room, but in the prep room for the surgery, and they let us go in there. And then and we stayed out in the waiting room until he came out of the surgery. John Houston gave you the particulars. I can't remember. It was a long time, though. And then the whole time we were on the phone with his mom, and she was coordinating her travel, flying from Orange County out to Houston. And I saw her the next day, went back up to the hospital when he got out of surgery. And, he was just, it was tough. Seeing that kind of injury, that gruesome, that severe an injury. And then, then this summer, fall, the healing process, and then he had to go have another surgery. That was tough. So now his mother's back out here. And so when I did the interview with after the game, I made sure I mentioned his mom and dad, because he's got a great mother and father, and Jacob is such a great kid. When we recruited him out of California, you could tell that he's got a chance to be really good. But we can't always plan our future. God's plans for all of us take us different routes. But Jacob, we've always believed in Jacob, and Jacob's believed in himself. And I think that's a message for everybody, is what other people's thoughts and opinions really don't matter at the end of the day when you go through or any time. I talk to these guys about freedom, what real freedom is. But seeing that young man, and then when he went in tonight, I was so appreciative of our crowd, the way they reacted, that they knew his story, and I appreciated that. I said a silent thank you to everybody that stood up and cheered for that young man, because he earned it, and he deserved it. And J1 was here 6 years? Who knows? Maybe he'll have a brother in arms with Jacob one day. I hope so. Jacob, once he gets through this and gets on the other side of it, obviously, it's not going to be this year. People that know anything about athletic injuries wouldn't even think that way. But next year, following year, he's going to be a really good player before he leaves here.
Kelvin, you've always taken a cautious approach bringing guys back. What did you see maybe more recently where he was trending in that direction to be ready to play?
But John, I meet with John every morning at 9 o'clock. So I don't always know what happened from the time practice ends or when I leave until the next morning, because a lot of times they'll wake up and say, John, I'm having this problem or this problem. So John always comes and we sit down and go over each player. But I could tell, and I'm sure Isiah and Emanuel could too, that his confidence was starting to come back a little bit. As a coach, you have a responsibility for these kids because they're somebody's son, and you're going to treat him just like you would your son. I would hope that every coach, and I'm sure they do, think that way. But Jacob was more of a slow burn. We had to let him heal You know, if anybody knows anything about athletics, it's not always the injury. It's the emotional or trauma, or sometimes it's athletic PTSD, especially when you have a severe injury. Nobody knows that more than these two. You know, Emanuel's had to get over that. He was out 18 months. Isiah was out 18 months. Part of Emanuel's slow start was because he didn't do anything for almost 6 months. Didn't play. You don't not play for 6 months and think you're going to pick off where you were at your best. So it's been a slow recovery for Isiah, and it was a slow recovery for Emanuel. Emanuel gave up his senior year of high school. He graduated early, enrolled here in January, and just had rehab and treatment with Bish and John. We've got, basketball at this level, any level, you're always run the risk of injuries. You just never know. Sometimes that's, it doesn't necessarily derail your season, but it keeps you from being as good as you can be. Some people, you lose a kid to an injury that was a starter, maybe your second or third best player. 3 or 4 weeks later, you use 2 or 3 in a row. People say, what's wrong with the team?
Coach.
There's a message in there to some of you somewhere. I'm always sending you a message. So learn something.
Go ahead, Kyle.
How you doing, Coach? Kyle Mosley, HBCU Legends on SI.
HBCU.
Last year, you talked about the relationship between you and Mo Williams, and earlier this week you did the same. If you had to be an advisor for these HBCU schools, especially now that they're going into their SWAC as well as MEAC conference play, what advice would you be giving to the coaches as well as these players?
Well, 3 of my really good friends is Mike Davis, the former Indiana, Detroit, Texas Southern coach. Johnny Jones, who was the head coach at LSU, North Texas, and Texas Southern. Mo Williams, when he played Alabama, my Oklahoma team played them in Madison Square Garden in New York. I think Mo had 25 that night. The message is one of perseverance. When you're at a SWAC school, you don't resign yourself to your fate. That would be given in. But what you do is you fight for a better day, not just for you, but for the people that come behind you, because of the people that came before you. That's important. When I want inspiration, a lot of times I'll pick up things that Martin Luther King said. That's where a lot of people that need inspiration, they get it from Martin Luther King. But when you're coaching at a HBCU school, to be a head coach there, you got to be, first of all, you got to see yourself as special. Take a backseat to nobody. And in this era now with NIL and the transfer portal, it's empowering coaches, because I have to do it. We have to go find partners. Jackson State is one of the historically great HBCUs. And I think about all the awesome graduates of that school that's gone on to do great things, that's willing to come back and help the athletic programs, no matter what sport it is, whether it's a men's program or a women's program, that will believe in their school enough to form a partnership where it's beneficial to both the business and the kid. Is use our kids to help promote your company. That's another way of giving back to your school. So being able to be creative, use your imagination, and say, this is where I'm at. I am not going to complain. I am not going to sit here and be a victim. What I'm going to do is thank God for this wonderful, amazing opportunity that I get to be the head coach at wherever it is. And then empower yourself to go out and help yourself. You know, don't wait for other people to help you. You know, this program's a great example of that. You can do it. What's your vision? Figure it out. Sometimes you just got to figure it out. I don't like people that sit around and point at their athletic administration as the reason why we can't. Figure it out. You know, I've had 4 athletic directors. This program has persevered for a reason. We've gotten better and better and better, and we may not have what other schools have, but we got enough. And as long as you have the right attitude about yourself and your program and your kids, then there's no reason why you can't succeed. And I've been meaning to say this, but I've been so proud of our fans this season. You know, we have a tendency to think the wrong way about fan bases. You know, that very first game, I don't even remember, who did we play our first game? Lehigh. Packed house. We showed everybody a Final Four banner, right? Those things are hard to get. And then the next game, and then even Florida State, we had an awesome crowd the other night against Florida State. So I'm appreciative of our fans. I'm appreciative that they support these kids, and they feel supported. So big shout out to our fans.
Kelvin, coming out of Vegas, you had mentioned about the importance of going into the last part of non-conference to get Isiah going and get him some work, some confidence. What would you think just tonight of being able to go out there for 24 minutes and
You know, Casey Beard had this scout, so played Florida. You know, we've had a lot of games here where we've just had to get experience. You know, don't quit. I want everybody to do this. Stop comparing this team to last year's team. This team will never be as good as that team. Most teams won't. There's very few teams. There was 2 teams left out of 371, Houston and Florida. And for most of the night, you didn't know which school was better. So this team is not that team and won't be. I may never coach a team that good. And I don't even think about that anymore. I want this team to be as good as it can be. Not as good as this team or that team, or that's kind of silly. Actually, it's kind of ignorant. And ignorant's not a bad thing because we're all ignorant. Will Rogers had a great quote. He said, "We're all ignorant, just in different areas." Now, stupid's another chapter. But ignorance is something that can be taught. So don't compare teams to other teams, especially when they got 3 freshmen. You know, L.J. Criers with the Golden State Warriors. J.Juan Roberts, the winningest player in the history of this school. You know who's replacing him? Senac. Well, Senac's a pro. No, he's not. He's a freshman at Houston. Hopefully he'll be a pro one day, maybe in 5 or 6 years, but he's a long way from it now. So don't compare these guys to veterans and good teams like that. This team's charged their own path, and that's the great thing about having 37 of them. You know, I let them all chart their own course. And when they travel down their course, they usually get better. And they get better on our terms, not your terms. And that's all that matters. But as far as this young man here, I had not seen him play since the summer after his junior year in high school, summer before his junior year. It's the last time I saw him play. I didn't see him play last year. I didn't see him play this year. He tore his ACL. He was out for a long, long time. He came back for the McDonald game, but he actually got hurt in that game. And so June, July, August, September, October. Now, if you go in 5 months without touching a basketball, especially playing the way we play, and then you start back in October, how long do you think it's going to take you to get there? January, maybe? So my deal is keeping these kids' spirits up, making sure they understand where they are. Nobody else does. The coaches and players and their parents do. Isiah's making steady progress, but he's important to this team. What he did tonight was probably more important than anything. Emanuel hadn't taken them howitzers tonight. He'd have probably been 6 for 6. But Emanuel can't help himself. He wouldn't be Emanuel if he didn't start lobbing grenades over a 30-foot wall with his left hand. Yeah, Isiah, this was his best performance. But I force-fed him a lot of minutes. I put him in the game early. How many minutes you play tonight, Isiah? 24. Is your name Isiah?
Yeah, Jeff.
Isaiah's got a really smart kid. If you ask him questions, he's capable of answering if you let him. We need him. We need him we need him to be Isiah. Emanuel is settling into being a senior, but that's what playing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't even know what our record is. What is our record? 9-1. So it's our 10th game, right? You think you're going to be better in your 10th grade or maybe your first game? That's why you don't react to anything, overreact.
Isiah, can you talk a little bit about your journey so far back from injury and your breakout performance tonight in front of this home crowd?
Definitely. I want to give all thanks to God. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And then my team and the coaching staff, definitely. Coming here, I tore my ACL. I called Coach Sampson, called Casey Beard, and we had talks. And, they still wanted me after I tore my ACL. And I thought that was like a big thing for me. So I definitely took that to heart. And when I committed here, they never gave up on me, never gave up on confidence in me. Coach always put confidence in me. The team always hyping me up and still putting confidence in me. But I think that's part of the program, and that's why I came here. So it really, I don't take any credit for it. It was all the team that, put me in this position.
Yeah, you do. Anybody shooting them balls tonight but you, Hoss. Take credit for that.
We'll go in the back to Laurent here. All right.
Emanuel, 10 games into your senior season. Can you talk about the team's identity from your perspective, what you're seeing from you, the coach, everybody this year? So
What's your name?
Laurent.
What's your background? Who you work with?
I'm with Coug Radio.
Huh?
Coug Radio.
You're good.
Thank you.
You're good. You ask good questions. I noticed that last game. But you were in college?
Yes, I am.
I would say I think we're still trying to figure it out. I still don't think we have a solid identity identified yet, which I think is part of our growth. Is we need to find our identity, because if we're gonna be the team that we want to be, we got to find our identity. But that's game by game. We have our calling cards, defense and rebounding, but we got to play up to the standards that coach and we have for ourselves. So it's a process, but I think we'll get there.
Emanuel, as someone who went through a rough leg injury yourself, what does it mean to see Jacob come back? And did you talk to him during this long period and talk about?
It's great to see, because knowing what I went through, I know how he feels, and it's more so mental than like Coach said. The mental aspect of it is just as big as the physical and rehab, getting over that mental hurdle of getting that confidence back, because like you said, it's not going to be the same coming back. You're not going to pick up where you left off. So but that's why this program is so good. Coach and the coaching staff. And his parents, I know, and us as teammates, keep talking to him, keeping his spirits up, encouraging him every day in practice. Like I said, recently, you could tell that he's getting his confidence back. He's getting more comfortable in workouts, in practice, just getting more live reps, and it's good to see that he's getting his confidence back.
A couple of weeks ago, you had thought about this moment and what you may be feeling. I think you said you might even cry. What was the emotion going in there when they called you, to check into the game?
I mean, it was just surreal to me, just being here for 3 years and just watching, redshirting my freshman year, getting hurt last year. And then I'm not going to lie, before the game, I went home, I cried. It was just, it's been bottling up to this moment. It just felt amazing, man.
Did you have an idea? I mean, they kind of mentioned that you had started to show some signs and trending in that direction where you were ready. When did you feel like, you could give this a go?
I would say, like, 2 weeks ago when I like really started getting into practicing. I feel like at first I was like babying it because, you know, you coming off of surgery, you want to baby it. But I feel like when I started like really getting into practice, really getting in my flow, I was like, me and Casey talked about it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to give it a go. He was the one that really pushed me.
Go ahead, Michael, here in the middle.
Jacob, you know, Coach said that he gave sort of a silent thank you to the crowd when they got up and they cheered, like when the place got loud and whatnot. What was that like for you to experience that fan support?
It was a blessing, man. I try not to show how much I appreciate the fan base in the moment because I was locked in, but I really do appreciate the fan base, you know, sticking with me these 3 years. You know, I haven't been playing, I've been out with injuries, just sticking with me and then giving me that ovation really meant a lot to me.
Jacob, throughout all the injuries and the surgeries, what are some lessons that you learned about the game of basketball and also life itself?
For basketball, I would say I learned a lot. I feel like I got smarter from sitting down, just watching the 3 best big men last year, JoJo, J1. I take a lot of inspiration from him. And then Javier, my captain last year. And then life, I would say don't always just think of the negative in the situation. Like, think of it as just a positive. I broke my leg. I would say the positive of that is just wait your time, and it just wasn't my time. I would say what God said it wasn't my time, and I'm going to wait till it was my time.
Jacob, as you made your journey back, how much has the emotional support and just the support in general from your teammates meant to you?
It meant a lot to me, especially last year. Especially my my best friends on the team, Cordell and Sed, just always being there with me, not letting me be alone. My talks with my older teammates last year, LJ, I was always in his room on away games. He would just talk to me. We just talk about life, you know. Play a card game called Speed, and I spent a lot of time with Jay. So that was my big brother the last 2 years.
Jacob, what was the hardest part of this whole journey, and what really got you through it?
I would say the hardest part, honestly, my second surgery wasn't as bad as my first one. I feel like my first one, I just looked at all the negatives with it until May. I was just always down myself, like, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? And then I flipped my mindset within May. I was like, there's a lesson in this. So that's why I would say I had a good summer. Unfortunately, I had to get another surgery, but I would say I leaned on my support system way more, and I had a better mindset into the second one.
Jacob, this might be hard to answer because you're still in the moment right now, but when you get home and the night's over, what's going to be the best part of today?
Best part of today, when Coach Sam told me that when he was going to put me in, and probably this morning when I prayed to God, prayed to him, just thanking him. You know, he never let me down. He stuck with me, my highs and my lows. Just thankful for him.
So was the plan coming in today then, was it going to be late in the game, or were you guys just going to play it by ear?
Late in the game. I knew I got to get my cardio back for that, so I was expecting late in the game.
It looked like, I think the first stat was the foul that you got. Was that, between that and the 2 rebounds, are those the best stats you've had for
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to get some passing in, but, you know, Chase didn't want to hit the 3. I got him for him.
Hi, what did you expect coming into today in this game?
Honestly, I didn't really expect to play that much. I thought I was going to play like 2 minutes. Thank you, Coach Sam, for letting me play longer, getting the flow more, and then just the support for my team on the bench supporting me. You know, they've been with me this whole time. I really appreciate them, all they do for me.
I got time for a couple more. Anybody else?
Did you lean on Isiah and Emanuel, knowing that they've been through?
I would say yeah. I say last year because how traumatic mine was, I leaned on and watched E-Man. But I would say this year, since I had more of a knee deal, I leaned on Zay more and just asking him questions how he was.
If you could tell the fans what you can provide for this team this year, what would it be?
I would say like Juan passing the ball, facilitating like Juan, rebounding, coverage call.
Anybody else? Welcome back, Jacob.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Thank you.